Hello, guys. This year has been a pretty strange year for the box office. Almost every major, the top 10 highest grossing movies for the first time, and maybe a while, have been all franchise movies. Twisters, King of the Planet of the Apes, Bad Boys, Beetlejuice, all of the massive movies, these massive movies were franchise movies. 2023, you had Oppenheimer movies, kind of destroy. I know, not counting Chinese movies. We're not counting movies released only in China, but we're counting Hollywood. We're only counting the Hollywood movies. Because last year we had Oppenheimer, you know, and you had Elemental at 10th. 2022, you had. Actually, 2022 is all franchise movies too. But I think this is going to become a major problem for Hollywood, as well as these franchises get fatigued. As we saw in the 2023 box office, a lot of massive franchises had fatigue, which means the movies underperformed at the box office. Why don't original movies do well at Hollywood anymore and at the box office? Oppenheimer being the one sole exception and Elemental, tactically, to this, as almost every year, the highest grossing movies of the year, with the exception of 2020 because of the pandemic, non-franchise movies have been excluded from the top 10 movies. Heck, even in 2019. Every movie is a part of an already existing IP. The highest grossing movie that has not been a part of an already existing IP is Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. And that movie was okay, but then you have to go further down for Knives Out, and then Us, and these movies just don't make as much money as they used to. You can go all the way back. We can go back to 2018, and this is the same problem. Non-franchise movies do not make money anymore. You can go all the way far down to the Meg as well. And technically Ready Player One. But again, Ready Player One is based off a book. Rampage is based off a video game. But again, Hollywood original movies are not really doing too well. And this actually has been the case for a while. Coco, which barely missed out of the top 10. Actually, it was in the top 10 if you exclude Wolf Warrior 2, which is a Chinese movie. But what happened in the turn of the decade when non-franchise movies started to decline in popularity? If you go back to 2020, okay, and there's nothing wrong with a movie being successful. It makes, 10 poles being successful is very good for the box office. It's very, very good for the box office and theaters. The problem is, back in the 90s and 80s and even 2000s, even as early as the early 2010s, non-franchise movies competed with the big blockbusters. They were on par with the big blockbusters, but at the turn of the decade, I think you have one massive franchise to really blame for this, and that's Marvel. Okay, Marvel releases 3 movies a year, which are almost often in the top 10 movies of the year. But this year, there was only one Marvel movie released. Every movie in the top 10 movies, excluding Yolo and Successor, which are foreign movies, and Pegasus 2, which is a foreign movie and a sequel, the highest grossing original movie was It Ends With Us, and then followed by The Wild Robot, also doing very, very well. Actually, The Wild Robot Ends With Us are based off a book. Then it would be If Then. If you want to go by those rules. And of course, then you have The Fall Guy. But a lot of non-franchise movies have not really done too well. Long Legs, Civil War, and that's it for non-franchise movies. Almost all of the highest selling movies of the year are sequels. But what happens when these franchises get fatigued? What happens when people get sick of Kung Fu Panda? They're sick of me, Marvel. Okay, and Disney runs out, and the people get sick of Disney sequels and Pixar sequels. Okay, I'm all for continuing a story of a movie, continuing, a plot of a movie that people really love. Okay, for example, Dune 2 did pretty well. Okay, Despicable Me 4 did pretty well. Inside Out 2 did pretty well, and Deadpool and Wolverine did pretty well, and I think Sonic 3 will likely reach the top 10 as well, and will likely make over $400 to $500 million, and heck, even $600 million globally. Mufasa, unfortunately, will probably make a similar amount of money too. As much as we don't like that movie. And let's not forget about Wicked releasing, Moana 2, and Gladiator 2. Which Wicked is based off Wizard of Oz. It's not an original movie, sorry. And Moana 2 and Gladiator 2 are sequels. Sonic 3 is a sequel, and Mufasa the Lion King is a prequel. You see the problem here? There was no hype for original movies. I think this is Hollywood's fault. Hollywood's fault for getting people not interested in non-franchise movies. Almost every company has steered the path away from the non-franchise movie, and I think the problem is because you have so many franchises that exist. You have the Mario series, you have the, that's the newest major one coming, that came. And yeah, Hollywood has basically been in a creative war. And I think a lot of people have basically pointed this out. But here's the problem. People don't pay. And this is what I keep saying. I've been saying for the past year. Don't pay to watch original movies. Okay? People don't care. I wish people would realize this. People would realize the people don't go pay to see original, non-franchise movies. And this year is the most absolute proof of it. Okay, original, non-franchise movies have made the least amount of money since forever. Okay, and last time the non-franchise movies competed, besides Oppenheimer because of the internet, was I think Coco, where competing with all these huge, massive movies, being in the top 10 movies of the year, excluding Chinese movies. Okay, and maybe you can count Elemental's comeback as well, that they often talked about, but even then, Elemental was still number 10, and including the Chinese movies, it's not even the top 10. But this is a problem that Hollywood is going to have to eventually address, because franchise fatigue is a real thing. Okay, last year, Fast and the Furious and Transformers are two huge franchises that made $1 billion in the past, but now are not making that much money. Heck, Transformers 1 didn't make that much money overall. Again, a lot of people didn't really like the trailers for the movie, but still, all things considered, the movie didn't really make that much money. And I highly doubt they're going to make another Transformers 1 again, which is pretty sad, because that movie is critically acclaimed. At least that's what I heard. That movie was very good, basically. But at the beginning, it looked good. Beekeeper did pretty well, but afterwards, a lot of these non-franchise movies have not really made much money. And this is a problem that Hollywood is going to have to address eventually. I don't think it'll be this decade. I think this decade will continue to be dominated by the franchise. But I think once franchise fatigue comes in, Hollywood is in real trouble. People will eventually get sick of Marvel movies. Are eventually going to get sick of seeing Inside Out 5 or Kung Fu Panda 20, okay? Or, and yeah. Again, Godzilla and James Bond have proved that franchises can last for almost a century at this point. But again, eventually people will get sick of these franchises. People will get sick of, oh, no, Despicable Me 9. Oh, yeah, so excited. But maybe I'm underestimating the, normie, because the normies do not really care about original movies. Because they gotta realize, the highest grossing movies are the movies that the normies are interested in. And that's the huge problem. The normies, they don't care about artistic integrity and original things. Unlike the music industry, where there's always new artists, and the gaming industry, where there's always indie gaming that has been successful, the movie industry is kind of in a rut when it comes to creativity as well. And the problem is, most of this creativity has been siphoned off to streaming platforms. You don't really have these massive original box office hits, as most of those movies have been relegated to streaming. Most non-franchise movies find their biggest success on Netflix and other similar streaming services. So really, Hollywood is in huge trouble in the theatrical business if non-franchise movies continue to do better on streaming than in the theaters, as non-franchise movies do very well on streaming services, and actually sometimes do on par with the franchise movies. Which is why I have a bunch of original movies coming to streaming service. And that's what this video here. Goodbye.